At the family reunion, my uncle said, "Isn't it time we controlled our women properly?" Uncle Rick said it during dinner at the pavilion, right after my Aunt Linda stood up to get more potato salad. The whole table went silent. "Isn't it time we controlled our women properly? Like they did in the old days." My mom's fork froze halfway to her mouth. My sister Emma stopped mid-sentence. But what happened next was strange. Nobody argued with him. Nobody called him out. Instead, my dad nodded slowly, and my grandfather said something quietly to my grandmother, who immediately sat back down even though she'd been heading to the dessert table. I looked at my girlfriend Ashley, expecting her to say something. She was always quick to shut down sexist comments, but she was staring at her plate, completely still. I laughed nervously and said that was messed up. Uncle Rick turned to look at me with this expression I'd never seen before, cold and focused. My dad put his hand on my shoulder, squeezed hard, and told me to drop it. The reunion continued, but the atmosphere felt wrong. I noticed the women were staying close to the pavilion, not wandering to the playground with the kids or walking to the lake like they normally did. When I suggested Ashley and I take a walk to the dock, my mom said it would be better if we stayed where everyone could see us. Ashley agreed immediately, which wasn't like her at all. She loved walking by the lake. I went to grab drinks from the cooler near the parking lot. As I was digging through the ice, I heard Uncle Rick talking to my dad and grandfather behind their trucks. They didn't know I was there. Rick was saying something about how they needed to do it tonight, that they'd waited long enough. My dad asked if everyone was on board, and my grandfather said all the men had agreed except me, because nobody had talked to me yet. Do what tonight? Agreed to what? Uncle Rick said I was young and didn't understand how things needed to be, but they'd bring me around. They couldn't have any weak links. I walked back slowly. At the pavilion, I noticed more strange things. The women were sitting together at one end of the table. The men were grouped at the other. That had never happened at our reunions before. My cousin Jen, who was usually loud and funny, wasn't talking at all. My Aunt Linda kept glancing at the parking lot. When I sat down next to Ashley, I whispered and asked if she noticed everyone acting weird. She nodded, but wouldn't look at me. Then she said very quietly that I should just go along with whatever happens tonight. Go along with what? She squeezed my hand under the table, and her palm was sweating. My little cousin Danny ran past our table, and his mom Sarah called him back sharply. She told him to stay in the pavilion where she could see him. Danny was 12 and had been running around unsupervised at these reunions his whole life. The sun started setting, and my dad announced that the men needed to have a meeting in the barn. He looked directly at me and said I needed to come too, that it was time. The women all stood up simultaneously and started clearing tables, moving faster than necessary. I didn't want to go to the barn. Something in my gut was screaming that I shouldn't, but my dad's expression made it clear this wasn't optional. Ashley grabbed my wrist as I stood up. Her grip was desperate. She whispered that I should text her the moment I was out, that if she didn't hear from me in 30 minutes, she'd know something went wrong. I walked toward the barn with my dad, uncle, grandfather, and 8 other male relatives. The door closed behind us, and I realized there were no windows, just oil lanterns lighting the space. And in the center of the barn was something covered with a tarp. Uncle Rick pulled the tarp off, and that's when I understood what they meant by controlling our women properly. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below. The tarp falls away, revealing what looks like an antique wooden chair with thick leather straps attached to the arms, legs, and back. Metal buckles glint in the lantern light. I take an involuntary step backward, my stomach turning cold. "What the hell is that?" I manage to say, though my voice comes out weaker than I intended. Uncle Rick runs his hand along the dark, polished wood like he's touching something precious. "This has been in our family for 5 generations. My grandfather's grandfather commissioned it from a craftsman who understood the natural order of things." My dad steps forward, placing his hand on my shoulder. His grip is tight, almost painful. "Son, every family has traditions. Ours just goes a little deeper than most." I stare at the chair, noticing worn patches on the leather where countless wrists and ankles have strained against the restraints. There are small metal contacts embedded in the armrests, connected to wires that lead to a control box on the side. "It's a simple system," Uncle Rick explains, flipping open the box to reveal dials and switches. "Pain compliance. Women need boundaries. When they step out of line, a gentle reminder brings them back to their proper role." "Gentle?" I repeat, my voice rising. "You're talking about torturing women, our family members." My grandfather steps forward, his face stern in the lantern light. "We don't use that word. This is guidance, structure, the way things were meant to be. Every man in this family has participated in the initiation," my dad says. "Tonight you join us. Ashley will be your first." The mention of Ashley's name snaps something inside me. I shrug off my dad's hand. "No, this is insane. I'm not doing this to anyone, especially not Ashley." Uncle Rick's expression hardens. "It's not optional, boy. This is your birthright, your responsibility." "I don't want it," I say, backing toward the door. "This is criminal. It's abuse." My dad's face falls in disappointment. "I told you he wasn't ready," he says to the others. "Too soft, too influenced by all that equality nonsense they teach these days. You're disappointing generations of our bloodline," my grandfather says. "Men who understood what it takes to maintain a proper family structure." I look around at their faces, my uncles, cousins, father, all watching me, with expressions ranging from disappointment to anger. These men who I've known my whole life, who taught me to fish and build campfires, suddenly transformed into strangers. "The women already had their dinner," Uncle Rick says casually. "Special tea with it. They'll be compliant enough by now. Makes the first session easier, less resistance." "You drugged them?" The horror of what he's saying hits me. "All of them? My mom? Emma?" "It's tradition," my dad says simply, like he's explaining why we always have turkey at Thanksgiving. My phone buzzes in my pocket. I pull it out, seeing Ashley's name on the screen. "Where are you? Are you okay?" Another message follows immediately. "Something's wrong. I feel dizzy. What's happening?" Then another. "Please answer me. The women are acting strange. Your mom can barely stand up." Uncle Rick watches me read the messages, a knowing smile on his face. "She's worried about you. That's good. Concern for her man is proper. She'll make a fine addition once she understands her place." I swallow hard, trying to think. I need to get out of here. Need to get to Ashley and the others. I understand now. I lie, forcing my voice to remain steady. "This is important to all of you, to our family. I need a minute to process this. Can I use the bathroom? My dad and grandfather exchange glances. There's no bathroom in the barn, Uncle Rick says suspiciously. I know. I meant outside, behind the barn. I feel sick. It's not a lie. My stomach is churning with disgust and fear. After a moment, my dad nods. Let him go. He needs time to accept his role. We all did. I walk toward the door, trying not to move too quickly. Once outside, I immediately pull out my phone, my fingers shaking as I type a message to Ashley. Help, barn, now. I hit send just as my grandfather steps out behind me. His weathered hand clamps down on my arm. You think we're fools, boy? He growls. You think you're the first to try running? This is your initiation night. There's no leaving until it's done. I try to pull away, but for an old man, his grip is surprisingly strong. I'm not doing this, I say through gritted teeth. You will, he says with absolute certainty. Every man in this family has faced this moment of doubt. Every man has overcome it. Before I can respond, women's screams suddenly pierce the night air from the direction of the lake. Multiple voices, high and panicked. My grandfather's grip loosens in surprise, and I wrench away from him. Uncle Rick bursts through the barn door, followed by my dad and the others. What the hell is that? He demands. More screams echo across the property, accompanied by splashing sounds and yelling. Even in the dim evening light, I can see confusion and anger spreading across Uncle Rick's face. The women should be sedated by now, he snarls. Who's out there? My phone buzzes again. A single message from Ashley. Coming for you. Stay alive. My grandfather grabs for me again, but I'm already moving, sprinting away from the barn and into the darkness toward the sounds of chaos at the lake. Behind me, I hear Uncle Rick shouting orders, men's boots pounding on dirt as they give chase. I've never been more terrified in my life. The family I thought I knew has been hiding this monstrous secret, and now I'm running for my life and for Ashley's, for all the women who've suffered through tradition for generations. As I run, one thought keeps repeating in my mind. This ends tonight, no matter what it takes. The screams grow louder as I sprint toward the lake, my lungs burning with each breath. Through the trees, I catch glimpses of chaos women running along the shoreline, some splashing in the water, all of them shouting. Ashley stands in the center of it all, her dark hair wild in the moonlight as she directs the confusion like a conductor. That's it, she yells. Keep making noise. Linda, take Sarah deeper in the trees. Jen, help my mom with Danny. I reach her, grabbing her arm. Ashley, what the hell is happening? Her eyes lock onto mine, relief washing over her face. You're okay. She pulls me into a quick, fierce hug before pushing me toward the trees. I got your text and rallied the women, the ones who weren't too drugged. We're creating a diversion. How did you know? I ask, still struggling to process everything. Later. We need to move. Now. She grabs my hand and we run toward the parking area, ducking between cars. Your uncle and the others will be here any second. Behind us, I hear Uncle Rick's voice booming across the property. Find them. All of them. This has gone too far. Ashley yanks open her car door, reaching under the passenger seat to pull out a leather-bound book. Take this. I found it 2 weeks ago when I was looking for jumper cables in your grandfather's truck. I flip it open, my blood turning to ice as I scan the first page. It's a journal, dated 1947, with my great-grandfather's name scrawled in faded ink. The first entry describes the proper method of female restraint and includes detailed sketches of what I now recognize as early versions of the chair in the barn. What the fuck? I whisper, turning pages frantically. Each generation has added entries, documenting techniques, successes, and failures in controlling the women of our family. My own father's handwriting appears in later entries. I started investigating your family before we even started dating, Ashley says, her voice tight. My roommate dated your cousin last year. She broke up with him after he started talking about women's proper roles and family traditions. I wanted to know what I was getting into. You knew about this? All this time? I feel betrayed, confused. Not everything, just enough to be suspicious. I found that journal by accident, and then I started connecting the dots. Why your mom never speaks up at family gatherings. Why your Aunt Linda always has those bruises she blames on clumsiness. Why your sister Emma. I suddenly remember my sister. We need to find her. A scream cuts through the night, not from the lake this time, but from near the pavilion. We sprint toward the sound, staying low behind the parked cars. In the distance, I see Uncle Rick dragging Emma by her arm toward a small storage shed. Let me go! Emma yells, kicking at his legs. I'm calling the police! This is insane! Uncle Rick slaps her hard across the face. You ungrateful little bitch. After everything this family has done for you. I start to run toward them, but Ashley pulls me back. Wait, he'll just catch both of you. We watch helplessly as Uncle Rick shoves Emma into the shed and locks the padlock. He pulls out his phone, barking orders to someone on the other end. They're organizing, Ashley whispers. Look, around the property, men are moving with purpose now. My uncles, cousins, even my teenage cousin's boyfriend, all of them retrieving things from their trucks. With horror, I realize they're arming themselves, hunting rifles, shotguns, even a crossbow that my grandfather keeps for sport. They're hunting us, I say, the reality sinking in. This isn't just about the initiation anymore. They're afraid we'll expose them. Ashley nods grimly. The boathouse. It's our best chance. It has a landline phone and it's defensible. We circle around the edge of the property, staying in the shadows. The journal feels heavy in my hands, like it's made of lead instead of paper. Generations of my family's darkest secrets, documenting the systematic abuse of women, all justified as tradition and natural order. I can't believe my dad is part of this, I say as we reach the boathouse. I always thought he was different. Ashley tries the door. Locked. I reach up to the frame, finding the spare key where it's always been hidden. Inside, the boathouse is dark and smells of fish and motor oil. Ashley immediately goes for the phone while I barricade the door with a workbench. Dead, she says, hanging up the receiver. They've cut the line. I pull out my cell phone. No signal either. They must be using a jammer. Through the small window, we can see flashlight beams sweeping across the property. Men's voices call out to each other, coordinating their search. I flip through more pages of the journal, feeling sick at what I'm reading. It says here they've been drugging the women at every family gathering since 1954. I tell Ashley, something they developed themselves. It makes women compliant, suggestible. They use the chair for correction sessions when the drugs aren't enough. Ashley joins me, reading over my shoulder. My God, it mentions your mom here. Says she was particularly resistant at first, but but responded well to increased voltage. Tears burn in my eyes. All these years, she never said anything. None of them did. That's how abuse works, Ashley says softly. Especially when it's systematic, generational. You're taught it's normal. A flashlight beam sweeps across the boathouse window. We freeze, holding our breath as footsteps approach. The door handle rattles. I know you're in there, my dad's voice calls out. Open the door, son. Ashley and I exchange terrified glances. There's no way out except past him. Go away, I shout. I know what you've all been doing. It's over, Dad. We're going to the police. With what evidence? He asks, his voice eerily calm. You think anyone will believe you? This family has been here for generations. We own half the businesses in town, the sheriff's department included. I clutch the journal tighter. I have this, all of it, every sick detail. There's a long pause. Then, unexpectedly, good, that's what I was hoping. The lock clicks, he's using his own key, and the door swings open. My dad stands there alone, no weapon in his hands. His face looks older somehow, tired in a way I've never seen before. We don't have much time, he says, stepping inside and closing the door behind him. The others will be here soon. There's a boat fueled up at the dock. Take it across the lake to the state park. There's a ranger station there. Call the state police, not local. Ashley and I stare at him in confusion. Why are you helping us? I ask. Dad's eyes fall on the journal in my hands. Because I've wanted that thing destroyed for 20 years. I've been looking for it since before you were born. He swallows hard. I never wanted any of this for you, for your mom, for Emma, but I was too much of a coward to stop it. You participated, I accuse him. Your name is in here. Yes, he admits, his voice breaking, and I'll have to live with that for the rest of my life. But right now, we need to get you out of here before Rick realizes I'm helping you. From outside, we hear Uncle Rick's voice. Check the boathouse next. They might be trying for the boat. Dad pushes us toward the back door that leads directly to the dock. Go, now. I'll tell them you overpowered me. Ashley hesitates. What about the other women? Emma, your wife? I'll get them out, Dad promises. But you need to go first, with that journal. It's the evidence we need to end this, once and for all. I look at my father, seeing him clearly for perhaps the first time, a weak man caught between his conscience and his cowardice, finally choosing to do the right thing. Why now? I ask as Ashley starts the boat's motor. Dad's eyes meet mine. Because you were stronger than I ever was. You said no. He pushes the boat away from the dock. Now go, and don't come back without the police. As we speed across the dark water, I look back to see my father standing on the dock, flashlight beams converging on his position. I don't know if I'll ever forgive him. I don't know if I should. But right now, with the family journal clutched to my chest and Ashley steering us towards safety, all I know is that generations of silence are about to end, and it terrifies me. The boat cuts through the dark water, our wake leaving a silver trail in the moonlight. Ashley steers with one hand, the other gripping my arm, as if afraid I might disappear. The journal sits heavy in my lap, generations of horror bound in leather. Almost there, Ashley says, her voice barely audible over the engine. Look, there's the ranger station lights. As we approach the dock, my phone suddenly buzzes to life. Service returning. Immediately, it explodes with notifications, missed calls from my mom, texts from Emma before Uncle Rick took her phone, and something else. A video message from my dad, sent just minutes ago. I open it with trembling fingers. Dad's face fills the screen, blood trickling from a cut above his eye. They know I helped you, he says, his voice low and urgent. Rick's gone crazy. He's gathering everyone at the playground by the pavilion. Says if the women don't come back for the initiation, there will be consequences. The video cuts off abruptly. We need to call the police, I say, showing Ashley the video. She nods grimly as we tie up at the dock. State police, like your dad said, not local. The ranger station is closed, just an automated information kiosk with emergency numbers. I dial the state police, while Ashley keeps watch. The journal clutched to her chest now. State police, what's your emergency? A calm voice answers. My family is being held hostage at Lakeview Family Campground, I say, the words tumbling out. My uncle and grandfather are threatening them. They have weapons. Sir, are you reporting a hostage situation? Yes, no, it's complicated. How do I explain generations of ritualized abuse in a 911 call? There's a cult-like situation. Women are being drugged and threatened with torture devices. My sister's locked in a shed. Please, you need to send help now. The dispatcher asks for details. My name, the location, how many people involved. I answer mechanically, watching Ashley flip through the journal, taking photos of pages with her phone. Officers are on their way, the dispatcher finally says. Stay on the line if possible. I hang up anyway. We need to get back. They have Emma, my mom, everyone. Ashley looks up from the journal. Your dad, she says softly. He said in the video that Rick's gone crazy. What if he hurts them before the police arrive? We're back in the boat before the thought fully forms, speeding across the lake toward the nightmare we just escaped. Ashley navigates to a small cove away from the main dock, killing the engine and letting us drift the final distance to shore. We should wait for the police, I say, even as I'm already climbing out. They'll be at least 20 minutes, Ashley replies. A lot can happen in 20 minutes. We move through the trees, staying low, following the sound of voices. As we approach the playground, I see them, the women of my family huddled together near the swings, surrounded by men with flashlights and hunting rifles. My mom stands at the front, her face a mask of defiance despite the drugs still visibly affecting her balance. Emma is there too, Uncle Rick's hand clamped on her shoulder. My dad is on his knees in the center, blood now streaming from his nose as well as his forehead. Grandfather stands over him, disappointment etched in every line of his weathered face. 5 generations, grandfather is saying, his voice carrying in the night air. 5 generations of maintaining order, of proper family structure, and you betray it all. It was never right, Dad says, spitting blood onto the wood chips. None of it. I was just too weak to stop it. Uncle Rick steps forward, dragging Emma with him. Where's the journal, Robert? Where did your son take it? Dad looks up, defiant despite his position. Somewhere you'll never find it. It's over, Rick. All of it. Rick backhands him, the sound cracking through the night. Nothing's over. We've dealt with traitors before. A chill runs through me at those words. The journal had mentioned 3 family members who disappeared over the years, cousins, uncles who threatened to expose the ritual, always explained away as moving or tragic accidents. Now I understand. We need to do something, I whisper to Ashley. Distract them somehow. Before she can answer, speakers crackle to life, the pavilion's PA system used for announcements during family gatherings. Uncle Rick's voice booms across the property. I know you're out there, nephew. You and that girlfriend who thinks she's so clever. You have 10 minutes to return what you took and present yourselves for the family tradition. After that, we start with your sister. Emma struggles against his grip, her face pale but determined. Don't do it, she shouts. Whatever they want, don't. Rick clamps his hand over her mouth. 9 minutes, 50 seconds. His voice continues through the speakers. Ashley grabs my arm. I have an idea. Keep taking photos of the journal every page. I'll be right back. Before I can stop her, she's moving through the trees toward the parking area. I frantically photograph pages, my hands shaking so badly some come out blurred. The journal details everything: the electric chair's specifications, the drug formulas they've refined over decades, accounts of correction sessions that are nothing short of torture. And then I find it a section listing necessary removals. 3 names, 3 family members who threatened to expose everything. My father's cousin Michael in 1973, my grandfather's brother Thomas in 1985, my own Uncle James, my mom's brother in 2002. All of them handled by my grandfather and Uncle Rick. They're murderers. My family's patriarchs are actual murderers. I hear footsteps and nearly scream before realizing it's Ashley returning, her face flushed with exertion. I've set up a live stream on your Instagram, she whispers, connected to my phone in that tree with a clear view of everything. It's already broadcasting. I used your account because you have more followers from your gaming channel. Live stream, but the police might not believe us, or might be in your uncle's pocket like he claimed. But the internet never forgets. She takes the journal from me. 5 minutes left. We need to go out there. What? No. They'll just force us into their sick ritual, or worse. Ashley's eyes are steady, determined. They can't do anything now. Not with hundreds of people watching live. Trust me. We step out of the trees together, the journal held high in Ashley's hands. Uncle Rick spots us immediately, his face contorting with rage. Give me that, he snarls, pushing Emma toward grandfather and striding toward us. Stop right there, Ashley calls out, her voice stronger than I've ever heard it. Everything in this journal is being uploaded right now. Every page, every name, every sick detail of what you've all been doing for generations. Rick falters, confusion replacing anger. What are you talking about? We're live streaming, I say, finding my courage in Ashley's strength. Everything you're doing right now is being broadcast to hundreds of people. They can see the weapons, see my dad bleeding, see you threatening my sister. A murmur runs through the gathered men. Some lower their rifles, looking uncertain. My mom straightens, understanding dawning on her face, despite the drugs in her system. You're bluffing, Rick says, but doubt has crept into his voice. Check Instagram, Ashley replies coolly. It's already trending locally. Rick pulls out his phone, his face draining of color as he sees whatever's on the screen. Grandfather steps forward, his authority seemingly unshaken. It doesn't matter, he says dismissively. No one will believe you. We own this town. That's when my mom steps forward, breaking free from the group of women. Her movements are still unsteady from whatever they put in her tea, but her eyes are clear. I'll believe them, she says, her voice carrying across the playground. I've endured 30 years of this. Electric shocks when I spoke out of turn. Drugs in my food when I tried to leave. Threats against my children if I ever told anyone. She looks directly at me, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry I never protected you. I thought I was keeping you safe by staying quiet. Other women step forward, my aunts, my cousins, even elderly relatives I've known my whole life. Each with a story, each with scars, both visible and hidden. Their voices grow stronger together. Decades of silence finally breaking. Headlights suddenly cut through the darkness as vehicles pull into the campground. For a moment, I think it's the state police arriving, but then I recognize the local sheriff's cruiser. Uncle Rick's face relaxes into a smile. Right on time, he says, walking confidently toward the approaching officers. Sheriff Daniels steps out, nodding familiarly to Rick. They shake hands like old friends, which they probably are. My heart sinks. Dad was right, the local authorities are compromised. What seems to be the problem here, Rick? The sheriff asks, surveying the scene with practiced disinterest. Just a family misunderstanding, Jim. The kids got a little carried away with some stories. You know how dramatic young people can be. Just inundated. The sheriff nods, turning toward us. All right, folks, let's break this up. Family matters should stay in the family. These women have been drugged, Ashley says firmly, stepping forward. There's a torture device in that barn. There are 3 unsolved murders documented in this journal. Sheriff Daniels sighs like he's dealing with hysterical children. Miss, I understand family gatherings can get emotional, but making wild accusations, it's all on the live stream, I interrupt, holding up my phone. Including you, dismissing serious criminal allegations without investigation. State police are already on their way. The sheriff's expression flickers. What live stream? As if in answer, phones start buzzing throughout the group. The men check their devices, faces paling as they see what's happening online. The sheriff's radio crackles with a dispatcher's voice asking about reports of a disturbance at the campground. Uncle Rick lunges for Ashley, trying to grab the journal, but she's faster, backing away. It's too late, she tells him. Even if you take this, thousands of people have already seen the evidence. I step between them, uploading the last of the journal photos directly to social media as Rick's face contorts with rage. For the first time in generations, the women in my family are speaking, and the world is finally listening. The sound of sirens grows in the distance. State police, not local. The sheriff looks nervously between Rick and the approaching sound, clearly calculating his options. Jim, Rick says urgently, you need to handle this. Remember what we discussed. But the sheriff is already backing toward his cruiser. Sorry, Rick, this is bigger than I can cover up. As blue lights flash through the trees, I look at my family broken, damaged, but finally facing the truth. The ritual that controlled generations of women is ending tonight, exposed to the light after decades in darkness. And though I know the hardest part is still ahead, trials, testimony, healing for the first time, I feel something like hope. The video spread faster than we could have imagined. Within hours, hashtags like Family Ritual Cult and Lakeview Horror were trending nationwide. By morning, the state police had cordoned off the entire campground, and investigators in white hazmat suits were combing through the barn, documenting every inch of the restraint chair and collecting samples from surfaces that had witnessed decades of abuse. I sit on the hood of a police cruiser, a blanket around my shoulders despite the warm morning air, watching as they lead Uncle Rick and my grandfather away in handcuffs. Neither man looks at me. Their faces are masks of defiance, as if they still believe they've done nothing wrong. They're taking them to the county jail, a state police detective tells me, her voice professionally neutral. Federal agents will be joining the investigation given the nature and duration of the crimes. Ashley sits beside me, her hand firmly in mine. She hasn't let go since we emerged from the trees last night. What about the others? She asks. The men who participated? We're processing everyone, the detective says. Those who cooperated immediately are being interviewed separately. My dad is among them. I watched him give a full statement, his face haggard but somehow lighter, as if confession had physically lifted something from him. He told them everything, the ritual's origins after my great-grandfather joined some fringe religious group in the 1940 seconds. The gradual escalation from psychological control to physical torture, the 3 murders that Uncle Rick and grandfather committed to protect their tradition. They found something behind the property, Emma says, approaching us with Mom. My sister's eyes are red-rimmed but determined. They're bringing in forensic anthropologists. I already know what they'll find. The journal detailed where the bodies were buried: my father's cousin Michael, my grandfather's brother Thomas, and my mother's brother James, all erased for threatening to expose the family's darkest secret. I should have known, Mom says, her voice hollow. I should have recognized the signs when James disappeared. Rick said he'd moved to Oregon suddenly, but James would never have left without saying goodbye. It wasn't your fault, I tell her, though the words feel inadequate against decades of systematic abuse. They drugged you, threatened you, isolated you. Mom's hand trembles as she brushes hair from her face. I thought I was protecting you kids by staying quiet. I thought if I just complied, they wouldn't turn their attention to Emma. Mom, Emma says firmly, you survived. That's what matters now. The next weeks pass in a blur of police interviews, evidence collection, and media frenzy. The story explodes beyond anything we could have anticipated. Investigators find the buried remains exactly where the journal said they would be. DNA testing confirms their identities: 3 family members who tried to stop the ritual and paid with their lives. Uncle Rick and grandfather refuse plea deals, maintaining their innocence even as evidence mounts against them. It was family tradition, Rick tells reporters as they lead him into the courthouse. You wouldn't understand. But the most shocking revelation comes during pretrial discovery. 7 other families across 3 states practicing nearly identical rituals, all connected through a network that traced back to the same cult my great-grandfather had joined. The FBI forms a special task force, and suddenly our family's nightmare becomes part of something much larger. Dad testifies against Rick in exchange for immunity. I watch from the gallery as he details his own participation, his voice breaking when he describes the first time he was forced to use the chair on Mom. I told myself it was for her own good, he says, tears streaming down his face. That's what they conditioned us to believe, that we were helping them by hurting them. Mom starts a support group for the women in our family, meeting weekly in a church basement to process their shared trauma. I attend once, sitting in the back, listening to aunts and cousins I've known my whole life describe horrors they endured in silence for years. Aunt Linda reveals the real source of her bruises. Sarah explains how she tried to protect 12-year-old Danny from knowing what happened to the women. Jen describes attempting to run away at 16, only to be dragged back and corrected for 3 days straight. The hardest part, Mom tells the group, her voice stronger now, is accepting that we didn't deserve any of it, that we weren't broken things that needed fixing. Emma throws herself into activism, organizing awareness campaigns on her college campus about generational abuse and coercive control. She speaks at events, her voice growing more confident with each retelling of our family's story. Traditions aren't sacred just because they're old, she tells a packed auditorium. Some traditions deserve to die. Ashley and I attend therapy twice weekly. Some nights I wake up gasping, convinced I'm back in that barn watching Uncle Rick demonstrate the chair. Other nights, Ashley's the one who can't sleep, haunted by what might have happened if she hadn't investigated my family before getting too involved. Do you regret it? I ask her one night as we sit on my apartment balcony, watching the city lights. Getting mixed up in all this? She takes a long time to answer. I regret that it happened. I regret that generations of women suffered, but I don't regret helping end it. She squeezes my hand. And I don't regret you. The trial lasts 6 weeks. Uncle Rick and grandfather are sentenced to life without parole for the murders, with additional decades for kidnapping, assault, drugging, and conspiracy charges. The other men receive varying sentences based on their level of involvement. Some, like my younger cousins who were just being initiated themselves, get probation and mandatory counseling. Dad avoids prison but loses his engineering license. He moves into a small apartment across town, attending intensive therapy and working construction. Mom files for divorce the day after sentencing. I stayed because I was afraid, she tells him. I'm not afraid anymore. 1 year after that night at the barn, we gather at the lake not for a family reunion, but for a ceremony of our own making. The women who survived, the men who refused to participate, the children who will grow up free from the ritual's shadow. Emma has written a statement that each survivor reads a part of, casting their words across the same water that once witnessed their suffering. Ashley stands beside me at the shore, our hands linked as Mom reads the final lines. We reclaim this place. We reclaim our bodies. We reclaim our voices. The ritual ends with us. As darkness falls, we light paper lanterns and release them over the water, one for each year the ritual continued, one for each person who suffered, one for each of us, still finding our way forward. They drift upward, golden lights against the night sky, carrying away decades of secrets finally spoken aloud. Do you think it's really over? Ashley whispers as we watch the lanterns rise. I think about the journal, now sealed in an evidence locker, about the chair, dismantled and photographed, about the 7 other families whose own reckonings are just beginning. The ritual is, I tell her, but the healing isn't. She nods, understanding what I mean. Some wounds take generations to heal. Some truths take courage to face. But as I look around at my family, broken but rebuilding. Damaged but determined, I know that speaking those truths is the only way forward. The last lantern disappears into the night sky, and for the first time since that night in the barn, I feel something close to peace.